voices should be going through more or less, sort of. I don't know.
I
Folks
am
probably
at least live now,
this
and you guys are as well, on my stream at least.
Indeed.
Okay, I think we are about ready. So, welcome to everybody. Today we have with us here on the round table we have Yamiks, we have Turjan.
Oh, hi.
I'm here-ish.
Ish. We have
I'm in the corner. I'm hiding in the corner. Don't look.
Just looking over the shoulders, and we have Obsidian Ant, who's
Obsidian's
muted.
And
hello there. Right.
There it is.
And of course, me, downtoearthastronomy. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the general state of mission balancing in the game, or the lack thereof.
Missions, I'd say just missions in general.
Missions in general, or mission payouts, or yeah, however we wanna. We'll see where it takes us. Now, what sparked this discussion was the recent rebalancing or nerfing of the wing collector missions, or wing source and return missions, where you right after the 3.1 update they were paying I think more than they did before, and they were then quote unquote rebalanced, aka nerfed. So I didn't get too much of a chance to actually run those missions, but as far as I understand, they did hit the mission cap of the 50 million per mission.
The unfortunate reality is, that missions in this game currently factually have the maximum capacity or rather maximum, money cap at 50 million. You can't go past it, unfortunately. It's a hard cap.
Yeah, but that was the hard cap they introduced. Was it 2.3, I believe? When right after the patch there was a bug where some missions would pay...
50 million's been there since I came back, so that's basically since Horizons 2.1, I think.
I think
at least.
No.
I think DTA's right on that. There's after was it 2.3 or 2.4, there was a bug where missions were paying out 80-90 million for individual missions.
I don't know, it was way higher than that. I think
so
we're talking some
were paying out like billions as well, weren't they?
Yeah. Some missions were paying billions per mission. And I actually think that those missions, the money that people got from those were rolled back because it was just a little bit absurd.
Yeah. And close to $1 trillion in some cases, wasn't it? Like 99999.
Yeah. And I actually think
essentially missions borked, Frontier devs fixed the easiest way.
Yeah, basically, if you accepted the mission, it wouldn't pay out.
And
I couldn't accept it. Was that it? They stopped you from being able to accept it?
Yeah, you couldn't accept it, but I also think that in some cases would cause your game to crash, because that the payout of the mission will only stored in a single integer, and that integer overflowed, then you get some weird mistakes.
Yay, programming! Yay, good design! I know programs!
And don't they work well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, yes.
I can
rant about this all day.
No, it's not really the problem it happening, is it? It's often how the fix is applied rather than the problem that's there in the first place. You know, problems happen, don't they, in these games, but there's ways of fixing it.
Yeah. But so in terms of game balancing, it seems to me that Frontier has kind of settled in and said everything under 100 million per hour is acceptable. Or at least they are not nerfing that right away.
Yeah, it seems that honestly, the whole Parutus Medbay and so on and so forth was going for 100 million an hour, and that didn't get nerfed right away, unlike some other specific volleyball thingamajigs. But yeah, that's not the only one, of course.
Yeah, but Robico is also slightly less. Robico would say is top 70. If you're really good.
Yeah. There were multiple things. We need to go and retest these things. But realistically speaking, when it comes down to missions, I've noticed one thing about how Frontier developments work on the, let's just say, income balance. And this technically should be, balanced rather than nerfing and so on and so forth. Because actually, no, it's just nerfing because there's no real fucking buffing. When was the last time you guys actually saw a mission payout being buffed?
Never.
No, I was thinking.
Never.
I
That's-
I
can't
remember
recall.
I don't remember that ever happening.
I remember.
Not intentionally,
it was,
at least.
No, it was intentional. I do remember. It wasn't. It was one of the patches, and it was just a simple patch that basically increased a little bit of VIP passenger missions. I remember that. But that pretty much is the only time that I remember something like that being in patch notes. So, yay. Anyways, sorry for disrupting that. And I bring down the conversation once more. Fantastic. Oh, fuck me. Sorry, folks. Then I guess it's up to me to give a topic in that case. Right. Well, you know what? Let's do the simplest thing. So I'm gonna read just simply quickly read through the whole little collecting mission balancing threads, or rather what was being changed. So first of all, following in the 3.1 update, we have noticed that the credit rewards for collecting missions, aka sourcing missions, were higher than intended. This has had a negative impact on the balance of in-game economy. Let's pause there and have a laugh.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. Then, as a result of this, we will we'll be adjusting the payouts for this mission, aka nerfing, this mission type, to reduce them and bring them in line with the intended rewards. So the question on my part is, what intended? Could you elaborate on that? That'd be always nice. I've asked this directly to a few community managers to get back to me and answer, or give me an answer as to what is the official expected income or intended reward.
Do you think you'll ever actually get an answer on that, though?
No.
They probably won't
Realistically.
give me an answer because maybe I need to be more specific about specific things, but even so.
But do you think that Frontier will ever give you a specific, or anyone, the community, a specific figure on what they think is a reasonable amount of credits, either for missions or per hour?
Maybe if it's asked enough, but even then they might try to avoid it because they don't need to tell us. One thing you need to remember is that mission rewards or specific things, details as how the game creates things are specifically kept secret to have that mystique or magic about how the game works. Otherwise, when you see the way the sausage is made, and then of course those of you in the rather community or viewers with programming knowledge will know how the sausage is made, but for the rest of us, well rather not us, but rest of you, that's a bit different because I am a programmer, but there's that. Anyways. So yeah, essentially sourcing missions are being nerfed, and I'm just thinking, yeah.
Right. So have they said when that's going to happen?
Let's
That's
see.
gone in already,
Has-
is it?
it has
On this
happened.
update. Did it go on the
should-
update this week?
Yeah, the
think-
3.1.2 update, right?
Yeah, that was 3.1 2
Yes.
3.1.
or 1.1. I don't remember, one of these, but basically
one that
it should
just
be in the
come
game
out
right
anyway.
now.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's.
Okay. So
So,
for those that might not be aware, what specifically are sourcing missions?
You get a mission that asks you to go and bring in a certain material. You don't have to go and collect it any way you want. Most often people just go and buy it off the market. And the mission reward you then get is then of course higher than the price you've actually paid to collect it. Often a lot higher, and in this case apparently too high.
well, to quickly explain, it's a mission like any other fetch quest mission that asks you to get X amount of things, and whatever way you want to get that X amount of things, you do it. That implies also piracy and what it else, but let's be honest, who's gonna go and do piracy for that, really? For 1,000+ units, really?
But
Have fun with that.
Have you noticed that? I don't know if it's just me. It feels like that whenever there's something in the game that's being nerfed, they always have a tendency to overdo it.
Yep,
They
swing
never-
opposite the
That's
other
that's a
direction.
typical thing about game development and balancing in games general. Honestly, very rarely do I ever see a game or a patch come and do what it's supposed to do and put things in more intended places. First of all, because our perception about what is fair and what isn't is a bit skewed on or our benefited side, right? But even then, if you just look from a side, oftentimes, yeah, it's I don't know where I'm going with this. Sorry.
Off on a
Fucking
tangent.
hell.
And so, Yamiks, as a programmer, yeah, I mean, every time Frontier release a patch, there's always seems to be a massive. Well, I won't call it an exploit, but there's always missions that seem to be playing out in a hugely rewarding way. Whether that's 100 million or 200 million, seems to happen absolutely every time.
Yeah.
Is that surprising to you still at this point, or did you think Frontier should be not really doing that now? Or
So
is that
you're
just
asking me that as an opinion
just as
from a programmer,
just as
right?
a programmer? Yeah, is after a number of years of working on a particular system, would you expect it to be normal to still see those sort of things happen, or should that be a thing of the past at this point?
It's a thing that still tends to happen with a lot of things, and then fixes are implemented afterwards. Oftentimes, software development it basically just comes down to making, first of all, the thing work, and then just fine tuning it. And the same goes with our games. Really, you just make the thing work. You implement a patch, nerf, whatever else, and then just fine tune it afterwards a little bit when you just need to tweak a number or two, rather than completely redo the mission or how it's being done and what it does. Because fair game, it's very hard to sort of manage and expect all the little details, all the little outcomes of a specific algorithm and so on and so forth. So considering that, of course, mission generating system in this game seems to be honestly, to me, a little way too complex, but or maybe I'm just no, wait, actually, I might be misunderstanding that a little bit, but still, that's me. Still,
So
yeah, yeah.
I work as a software developer as well, and what we often do what we often do, and I've been working on the same piece of software for about a year and a half when I originally started creating it, and I've been maintaining it ever since. And what you do is, because you will make mistakes, there will be bugs, there will be situations that you haven't thought of. That's completely fine. But what you then do is you make test cases. That means you make a you create a secondary program, which only job is to make sure that the main program works as intended. So that might be that I create a set of input parameters and I check if the output of the program is what I expect. And then when I find a bug, I then implement a test for that bug in my test case. So I implement a new test that tests for that bug. And that means that next time I do a change to the main software, I will run the test software on it. It will validate that at least I haven't reintroduced any of the bugs that were previously known. And I think the problem is that that kind of work takes about twice the amount of time that it does to actually develop the software, and it is extremely boring. Which is why
It's extremely tedious, I can tell you that much.
It is
but,
tedious, it's boring, and it takes a lot of time. And I think that's simply why the Frontier is not, because it seems like they're not doing this. I mean, it wouldn't be too hard. They have the like a generator where they can put it various parameters, and then it will spew out a number of missions. Now, what they could, or what I think they should do, was whenever they find a situation where a mission in a specific location begins to generate missions that are paying an excessive amount, what they should then do is they could then take whatever parameters are given to that mission board generator, whatever software, give those parameters to it and run that program 100 times, generate 100 mission boards, and see what type of missions are generated. Are there any missions of a specific type that pays over whatever amount they want? And then they could, if they did that, I mean, it would be a lot of work, but to do that every time, but that's just computation time. It's not manual work. Once you have the test cases, that's the whole point. It's not manual work to test it. You just have a program you run, and it tests everything for you. And if they did something with the mission generator, they could avoid a lot of these. But I simply think they don't have the time or the manpower to do it. Or maybe it's just too expensive. Because
but then, you know, this thing called QA testing, right? Well, Frontier does have quite a sizable team of QA testers. But no, I've noticed actually one rather interesting thing about how Frontier Developments is a software development company works. It's a very peculiar one when it comes to gaming, especially when it comes to gaming. So they have designer team that basically designs a specific feature. Let's say it's a mission. Okay. Now that design team gives general ideas or more descriptive ideas as to how the mission should be working to programmers, and they implement it. That's what Frontier calls their game programmers. Okay. Or yeah, game developers, whatever. Okay, so now they are working. They are finally done. They made the algorithm that spews out a mission. Okay. Now they give that algorithm or specific thing to test for QA team. They test whether or not it breaks, or whether or not it spews out a fatal error at that point. If it does, back to the drawing board, or back to the developer or programmer rather, to redo it and fix the fucking thing. Now, once it's fixed, again back to QA, and if it passes the basic levels of QA testing and it doesn't crash the game or just doesn't spew out outrageous results or incorrect results rather, it's let free. That's basically how I see things being done. There's no oversight on balance, or there seems to be very little of it. Because again, you look at the missions. You can right now go into mission boards and all that stuff and take a look at how missions are generated. You'll see, for example, massacre missions are a very good example. They are probably the most dangerous missions. Be that kill ex-pirates or go to conflict zone or what the else. Those probably are the most, dangerous missions in the game. And how much do they pay? They pay basically a lot less than a fucking passenger mission that doesn't even have any potential threats. And that's where my sort of suspicion comes from. They put in the thing, it works, it doesn't spew out any fucking errors, it doesn't crash the game. Okay, good enough. Let's flush it to the game. There you go. Of course, that's not the full story how, again, Elite is developed, but it has that feel. It certainly has that certain feel. So, yeah. At least that's how I see the game's, things being developed.
Do you think, from the point of view of someone who's not a programmer, I'm not a programmer or a games designer or anything at all like that, but from what you describe, you and Astro just now, you have an algorithm to test some of the changes you've made. That obviously would work it can, I assume, predict a certain amount of cases that players may potentially be using, or the algorithm's designed to test. But a lot of the exploits or the big rewards that get paid out for certain missions every time there's an update in Elite, they can come from a system out in the middle of nowhere where no one normally goes, and they do a certain combination of activities to cause that to happen. So I don't know how many systems there are now. Is 60-odd thousand systems, is it, inhabited?
A lot of them, essentially.
Does that amount of parameters make it more difficult to test?
Of course it does.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But they should. I wouldn't expect them to test every single type of mission in every single station in Elite. That would be unfeasible. Then we would not get any patches. Then it would be a 10-year thing to deploy a patch. That's not feasible.
That'd be you develop one patch at the pace of Star Citizen.
Yes, then you get Star Citizen. So I wouldn't expect them to do that. But if they So again, my point is they don't have to go out and test every single thing. I don't mind that there is bugs and mistakes. What I just think is weird is that we sometimes see the same mistakes being re-implemented again after they have been fixed previously. Take skimmer missions as the latest example, where the skimmer missions was paying an excessive amount apparently. They then introduced a limit to the number of skimmer missions you could have active in your transaction tab to 5 I think. 3.0 launches, no sorry, 3.1 launches, and they removed that limit, and when they realized, they reintroduced it. And that's just because, so once they realized that, oh, we need to reduce the mission limit on skimmer missions, they implement it, they make a test case that makes sure that we test, is this implementation still in effect after we made a change to the mission system again. So it's the same when you have a distant system somewhere in the middle of nowhere where these missions often occur. When that's discovered, you just take the parameters for that specific system and you put that into a test case. So what you would essentially do, say, let's say Quince, the missions that were up there.
That's a good example.
Yeah, you would say, okay, as part of a test, we generate 100 mission boards in Quince. They wouldn't you wouldn't have to go in and look at the 100 mission board, dump it into a file or database somewhere, and you could then just look at them or have some script that look through those missions, and if they fulfill some certain parameters, they are flagged as being, hey, we need to have some human eyes on this. Or if they're all within parameters, then good to go. And if then it turns out there's still a bug, then you need to adjust your parameters. But stuff like this, basic quality assurance that you don't re-implement mistakes you've made in the past, because then it's just going to be a loop of like implementing fixes you've already done.
Yeah, I see. So from the other point of view, then, rather than it just being a bug or something like that, could it be that there's some fundamental flaw in the code that just keeps throwing up this same?
Definitely.
Yeah, so something too difficult to go back to and repair at this point. That may not work.
The whole mission board, in fact, is way too hard to re-implement and all that stuff. I mean, okay, so here's a little sub-question for Astro. So instead of actually introducing those new test cases, and speaking of Quince, or Quincy, whatever, do you remember what did they do instead?
What they did in Quince?
Yeah, with Quince and fixing missions.
They just made surface scanner missions completely useless, because now you have to go to, well, first of all, they're a lot more difficult to do now, and you can't scan the same state. I think the fix was that one outpost would only solve one mission. Yep,
and the other fix for it was also the fact that you can only pick up, or rather you're limited to picking up 3 or 5 missions. I think it was 3 missions at the time.
Yes, it was
that
very
limit
low
is
number.
removed again.
Oh, okay. So that limit is still with massacre missions. Those that perhaps don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Technically, of course, you can see multiple massacre missions in your screen. Sure, yeah, fine, but you can't pick up more than 3 of them. I think one by one, of course, if you refresh the mission board in between. If I remember correctly, they might have removed that. Wait, have they? No.
I'm actually not sure if there was the same thing as with Quince, where if you had, let's say the mission limit is 3, and you have a mission board with 5 missions on it, you could then take those 5, and then you wouldn't be.
Yeah. You were not limited to picking up missions. You were just limited of having them spawned after you picked up the 3rd mission, which was the stupidest way of fixing anything. I laughed my ass off when I saw that. It's like it literally is the programmer's shorthand for Deus Ex Machina. It's that bad.
That's what makes me wonder if that comes down to basically the mission system being broken. So rather than having to fix it, they're just having to patch it. Yeah, maybe at this point the mission system needs a complete overhaul. Obviously, just complete speculating, but with the amount of problems that we see, it leads me to wonder that.
Complete overhaul? Oh boy, that will That would be a bitch to do. I highly doubt they would do, but that would be beneficial for sure.
But isn't that what
Considering
the
that there
whole
are
Beyond series is about?
Beyond
Fixing-
series, technically,
fixing
some
core gameplay.
devs mention it that we're gonna go back to fix the basics or some basics, because let's be honest, multicore is still broke as fuck.
Yeah, that's unplayable.
So, yeah.
I do think with Beyond, one of the things they've completely did rework was the planets. The impression I've got was that that wasn't just a small fix, and that's why it took so long. That was essentially a rework. At least that's the impression I've got.
The rework of what? Sorry.
Of the planet generation, because it
Oh.
went skew-if, didn't it? Yeah, I mean, right at the start, I think it looked quite good on the initial release of Horizons, but quite a lot of people had performance problems with it, both on consoles as well as lower spec PCs, and they kind of reworked it, and we ended up with crap-looking planets and beige color planets, and it took them nearly close to 2 years to fix that.
Yeah.
So I've always got the impressions with them talking about that was a rework and not just a bit of a code change.
It's not just a tweak.
No, that was a complete rework. Perhaps with future content in mind. Obviously, at some point they want atmospheric worlds, yeah?
I hope so.
Yeah, so...
Everyone does.
Yeah, that says they're willing to do rework if they think it's worth it, but coming back to the mission board, is that a case that's what it needs? Would they be willing to do it? If so.
Willing? Probably. Have the time in the schedule? Probably not. So... right. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go. Oh, okay, go. Okay. So, the question about mission payouts. Oh boy. It's hard to generalize the whole idea of, mission payouts, good, bad, or what it else. Again, each mission is slightly different, and they pay differently. But in the general sense, I've said this in a few of these round tables and what else, that the game lacks the risk versus reward, reward in general for missions to be properly balanced and what else. Because again, I did mention even right now, just a couple of minutes ago, that the massacre missions, probably the most dangerous missions in the game, do pay a lot less than just your typical little passenger mission. And that just makes no fucking sense to me.
No.
So,
That's-
I don't know. How about you, fellas? What do you think of the mission payout topic, rather, or maybe just mission payout fairness?
I think you've said it before. I just see someone in the comments saying a similar sort of thing. That what did he say? They said, are they the only ones that have their exploration as their main source of income? And that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because you can make a reasonable amount of money from exploration when you consider the risk involved. It's a bit time consuming, it can be, but when you say compare it to the assassination missions, then it makes them the balance a bit of a joke, doesn't it?
Yeah. I definitely think there's a definite mismatch between the risk you take and the reward that you are paid. I mean,
Well, I think in a lot of cases we're flying completely blind with mission rewards anyway, because there is no benchmark, there's no basis for comparison anywhere in the game that tells you what should be worth money and what isn't. When you have commodities that are worth like 5 or 6 credits a ton, and then you have a mission that's worth 50 million, and nobody blinks an eye, and you think, well, if I was going down the local shops and buying something for a £5 and someone says, "Here, mate, you want to do a job for 50 million?" I'd be thinking, "Whoa, that's a lot." And there's no benchmark. There's nothing that tells you specifically what like an average worker's income is or something. You don't know what's what, and so they just throw these large numbers out as mission rewards, and we just suck them up because we don't know if they're large or not, really.
Yeah, someone here is mentioning it's not about risk in Frontier's eyes, it's about time.
yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my god. Okay,
They went there.
if it's about the time. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
they
let's
went
talk
there.
about that comment then. I take fucking umbrage on that one, because for fuck's sakes. Okay, so again, returning to the massacre mission. Let's take the whole fucking risk away from it. The most you can expect from one massacre mission that will ask you to kill about 90 ships is 10 million, if I remember correctly. 10, 11, something like that million. That's the maximum you can expect from those missions at the maximum rank and all that stuff. Anyways, that will take you literally an hour or more, because killing those ships alone, even with a friend, will take you at least a half an hour with a friend. I've tested this shit, by the way. Remember this. I tested this. Anyways, in a half an hour, doing some passenger missions, you can earn about 50 million. Or not even 50 million. Fine, you can do 20 at least. No problem.
I was like 40.
Or better yet, with the Road to Riches, you can do 30 million an hour, which, okay, fine, is half of that, but still. I mean,
yeah.
It just baffles. It baffles my mind to think that, oh, this game is fair, or we don't care about you. At least, you know, what the Turjan tends to like to say, the game doesn't care about you, or Obsidian as well, in fact. As of recent times, the game doesn't care about you. Seems like that's the case, pretty much. Yay! I love the game.
That's one thing I never understood. That is Frontier's obsession with how much time people spend in the game. I mean, I don't get that. Why is that so important for them? It's not a subscription-based game. If it was, it would make sense.
Well, it's like the BBC. The BBC
I can tell you.
in England here. You know, it's a state-run channel, the BBC, but they have this obsession with competing with the commercial channels. We have to have more viewers. We have to have more. Nobody cares. You know, it wouldn't matter if nobody was watching the BBC. They'd still get paid by the government the same amount. You don't have to compete for ratings and views. And I think Frontier are kind of doing, is it on, you know, Steam and things like that, have a number of hours played and a number of people consecutively in a game at any one time. And it means nothing, those figures, because if you're sitting there parked while you've gone off to get a cup of tea while your notoriety's counting down, you're not actually playing it. But on something that's measuring the number of players in a game, it looks like you are. And that's a bit, you know, it's going down a dodgy road, is that, if that's your benchmark for how good a game is, how many people are playing it at any given time, because it doesn't actually mean anything.
I'm a cynical man. I can answer that easy question easily, at least in a few parts. So, oh boy. Well, anyway, so answer number one: why do Frontier, or at least in when you said that Frontier seems to want players to just play longer, or you know that big. It doesn't make sense since, you know, it's not a subscription-based game, or it's not a free-to-play game, so what's the point? Well, one part in that is to show their investors that, well, players are playing it for so fucking long, longer than a lot of other games. So we have a game that captivates people, even though that playtime is shit. And sorry, but it is oftentimes just shit. So yeah, and the other answer, of course, was hinted there before. I think Turjan said it about the Steam charts and all that stuff, just to have again someone else outside of the investor crowd to showcase that, well, our players are playing this game for X hours or minutes longer than everything else. It's like me saying I make, you know, a 10 fucking minute or 20 fucking minute video of just me farting about doing, you know, very boring things, instead of, you know, making a 5-minute video that is concise and interesting. That's the same difference there with the game, unfortunately. So at least, well, that's how I see it. So I don't know, maybe you guys think differently. No, again, I'm just a cynical prick, so don't you worry.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because when you look at a lot of the way Frontier talk about a lot of the content, when it's upcoming content, they always have to announce it in a certain way. Always have to talk about it in a certain way. Announce it at big events, you know, which is understandable because they want all of the most publicity they can. But I think it also comes down to their financials a lot, and as you point out, Yamiks, it comes down to investors, about making the company look good. I mean, when you really look at it, Elite was obviously the game that David Braben's wanted to make for a very long time. He started with Elite, and it's pretty obvious that he likes space and he likes science, and he likes science fiction and all the rest of it. So that's where Elite's come from. And I know there's quite a few others in Frontier that feel the same way, high up, and various other levels in there. But it's also been used as an opportunity to grow Frontier, isn't it? It was their first self-published game, and it got them the money they needed to make Planet Coaster, and that in turn got them to where they needed for Jurassic World. And I don't know if you saw it, there was a financial report that came out in last month, middle of June, I think. There's been a UK company that by law publicly show all their financials, and their year end is in June, beginning of June, end of June. And Frontier had a turnover, a revenue of £34 million last year. And now that's not their profit, but that's their turnover. And the report said that's basically coming just from Elite and Planet Coaster because of the release date of Jurassic World. That 34 million doesn't include any money from Jurassic World. So yeah, I think their approach to the way they're putting the games out there just definitely come down to a money thing. And it's obviously working. Yeah?
Companies are there to make money, and that's obviously a thing. I highly doubt anyone here would dispute that, really.
It's got to be, hasn't it? It's got to be about money. But
yeah, what we were saying last week about becoming publishers, if they're handling the numbers like that, well, they make a good publisher, won't they?
Time will only show. Again, I'm just skeptical about everything, so yeah.
Okay, so I get the point that yeah, Frontier is. I mean, you can buy stocks in Frontier if you want, and of course they need to do something to please their investors. That makes sense. But I don't think that explains why they are so fed up with the playtime, or session duration, or whatever it is they're measuring. Because from my point of view, unless there's some correlation between how long, how much time a player spends in the game and how many paint jobs they buy, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what they want. They want people to go to the store and they want them to buy paint jobs and stuff like that. And of course, sell more copies of the game. But at the end of the day, I guess trying to fuel it by microtransactions. That's I don't see how longer PlayStations encourage people to go and spend more in the store. I don't know. Maybe if you feel a higher sense of achievement from getting a certain ship, you want to spend a little bit of real money to like pimp it out, something like that, I guess.
No,
my
I can't agree with
answer, I don't know. My only answer. Sorry, Obsidian, go.
No, you go.
Okie dokie. Well, so my answer to that would be, old school design thinking. That's really currently the only non-cynical answer that I got you. People that are designing the game or have been asked to design the game have been given specific set of rules or goals to meet, and one of them is to make it like the old games with old thinking, old design ideas, and so on and so forth. The gaming in general has come very far since 2000, even from especially from 1980s. So that thinking that back then was okay, the grind or the procedural generation is super awesome, cool, blah, 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 blah. These days is just a part of the equation, unfortunately, or fortunately at least. Because there are so many little elements that make up enjoyable gameplay, and rewarding gameplay in general. So it's for me at least, I'd say it's kind of hard to judge exactly, not really knowing how they designed the game exactly, and even talking with their designers, be that Sandy or anyone else from the design team. It's still kind of hard to get that general gist as to what they aim for, or what the design process and thinking is about the game. But at least from the outside looking in, or rather just experiencing the game, it just feels that the game is filled with old school sort of design choices, and grind is one of them, unfortunately.
No, I think you're right there.
That's my only answer. Sorry, that's all I got.
I think you're kind of right there. The thing that really you have to consider about that is they've made this game and they've used that sort of design approach to it, and it's obviously worked for them. So they've really got no incentive to do otherwise, have they? Aside from
broke, don't fix it. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, from their point of view, there's a business point of view. From players, we may say, well, we want this, we want that, but if they're looking at their bottom line, and their bottom line is good, and it's, you know, they're seeing all these players playing the game and players spending the money and they're having a good turnover, they've really got no reason to change their approach.
We're just sitting here whining, and that's all we do. So I don't know, maybe our opinions really don't matter that much, so we're basically just circle jerking here, just, I don't know, or maybe just seething in our own bile, not having fun.
Yeah,
or
to be fair, they do listen, don't they, though, Frontier, with certain things?
Oh, they do listen. Do they act upon what they listen to? Well, that's a different question.
There's cases of both, I think, isn't there? Where they've listened and acted upon it, and cases where they haven't gone ahead and done what they wanted.
Yeah, perhaps.
So, now that we're on the topic of communication, ninja nerfs or stealth nerfs? Seen a lot of those.
Stealth nerfs. Well, stealth nerfs are kind of hard to detect in general.
But that's okay. That was a pretty clear. Oh, hold on, I think I got pirates here. That was a pretty clear one with what was the latest one? It was the reintroduction of the skimmer mission limit, where they launched they launched their, was a 3.1.1, I believe, patch, and they launched a patch note with it, and there was no mention of any mission changes in that patch note at all. Yet, as soon as the patch was implemented, you could clearly see that mission limit was reintroduced. Yet it wasn't mentioned in the patch note, and we've seen that a lot of other times where they will simply just not tell people what they have changed.
The question is it good or bad, or
why? I understand there are some things in the game they don't want to share in a patch note, because, I mean, the nature of Elite is there are secret stuff that we need to go out and discover for ourselves. And that's one of the things that makes Elite awesome and makes it a great game. But stuff like this with the mission limit, I mean, it's not like that's going to be difficult to find. I mean, they knew there was a lot of people.
You know about it as soon as it's out, yeah.
Yeah, people would know of it within minutes of the patch going live, because there was a lot of people already running these missions. They would already be on site, ready to continue after the patch.
You know, I think it goes back to them not wanting to give, or ever really giving a clear figure on how much they think is a decent amount of credits for players to be earning. If they start
that probably will be hidden forever, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of related. If they start talking to specifically about why they've nerfed this or why they've nerfed that, it allows the players to build up a picture of what they think is acceptable and what they think isn't acceptable. So it's easier for Frontier to just not say anything. I mean, a lot of the times you see these nerfs go into the game, and they don't even say they've actually done it. It's just everyone's starting to say, "Oh, that's been nerfed." Frontier just don't talk about it. Yeah. And I think that's for the same reason they won't talk about the amount of credits that players are earning. They just don't want to give a picture for people, or they don't want to give people the necessary information to build that picture.
But we already have. It's 100 million.
Yes, we have.
I mean, it's not like it's a secret. I mean, we can clearly go out and we can see which are getting fixed quickly, which is not. And there's a very clear correlation between the payouts and that. So it's not like it's a secret.
No, it's been 100 million for a while now as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Though it seems like that thing is creeping to me.
Yeah. Upwards, obviously.
I mean, I recall back when everybody was losing their mind over 80 million an hour in Quints. I mean, if you find a spot that's 80 million an hour today, it's like, okay, that's decent. But it's not something where people are losing their mind over anymore. I mean, now we're looking at 200, 300 million per hour, and people go completely crazy over it.
Well, I remember if you go back a couple of years when some massacre missions, Draconis 47. I think that was that 2016, maybe. I remember Dr. Kai doing a video on that on YouTube where he made $1 billion in a week, and everyone went absolutely nuts. Like, how can you possibly make $1 billion in a week? That's a crazy amount of money to make.
Yeah, now you have people making $1 billion in a night.
Yeah, exactly.
With Volley Boom, you could do
not really saying so much.
About 5 hours minimum. For maximum, I mean. 5 hours maximum, and you get $1 billion. With Volley Boom back in the day, I remember that. But it was broke as fuck, so I guess fair enough that it got fixed. So,
I mean, it's...
So even the exploits are going upwards.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's my point.
But are the regular missions going upwards? A little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Slowly over time. If you look back at the very first
I would
missions, they were
actually say
terrible,
that
weren't they?
It's hard to say because the missions of payout is of course dependent on your rank for that specific type of mission. So if you go do combat missions, and you have a low combat rank, you would not be offered missions that pay a high amount. Whereas if you are a combat elite, you would get a high payout. So it's difficult for me to say because obviously over the years my ranks with both trade combat and exploration have increased. So it's a little bit difficult, but I feel like the mission payout in general has risen a little bit.
Yeah, especially noticeable though because mission types have changed. So like for now we've got wing missions, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's obviously had an impact. I mean, what have you noticed about that specifically? Anything stand out there?
What stands out most to me, and of course it's a balancing thing, but is that if you take it could be a source and return or a go and deliver this stuff to somewhere kind of missions. If you look at how much is paid per ton, let's say it's a source and return mission. If you look at how much is paid per ton, then it is about 2/3 of what it is on a non-winged version of the same mission. That strikes me as odd.
So it's less.
Yeah, it's less. So if I were, let's say I could go out and collect some material, buy it off a station, and I would get 30,000 per ton I collected. If on a solo mission, if I took the same type of mission for the same material, same station, same faction, but a wing version, I would only get, let's say, 20,000, so 2/3. And I feel like that's a little odd. I know they've done it because that, of course, the payouts are not split between the people who participated, but are given in its full amount to everybody who participated.
A copy. So
yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think on that, Yamiks?
Right. So yeah, it's very easy to sort of unravel the super dumb algorithm that they put, or rather design that they put on wing missions. Wing missions, I absolutely love the idea, as a matter of fact, but execution once more has been super disappointing. So basically what wing missions are in Elite Dangerous are just a typical normal mission, as you described already, but simply being multiplied by 4 in the amount that needs to be delivered, and price staying the same.
Yeah.
Or even less than that, as a matter of fact. And really, it's being multiplied by 4 because, again, yeah, 4 people at maximum can, pick up these missions. But it just stinks of laziness. I mean, seriously, how could you not make a fucking mission that, allows the, mission master, or the person that gives out the mission to his wingmates, to just split the profits according to people in the fucking wing? Yeah. How hard would have that been to program? Astro, you answer that because you probably know. Very easy, easily answerable question there. Okay?
I don't understand why they have to be, why the standard solo missions and wing missions need to be 2 separate things. I mean, I like.
That's also a good question.
Why does that? Why would so? Okay, so if I were to implement something like this, where you suddenly want multiplayer missions, right? What I would have done, let's take source and return mission as this is the example. again, what I would have done from the way it was before is to say, okay, I'll keep the payout, like the scaling of the payouts the same, so they would still pay more. I mean, the payout per ton would still be the same, but I would widen the ton, or the amount of materials required based on a low-level mission and a high-level mission. So an elite mission would maybe require, let's say, between 1,000 and 2,000 tons of a given material, and a low-end mission would then still require, let's say, 8 or something like 12, 20, something that in that range, right? And then just let every mission be shareable, because as it is right now, with the wing missions often requiring like several thousand tons of a given material, they're often out of reach for new players. Because, I mean, even if you...
Oh, those are just horrible to see as a new player. 1,000 units of what? In a fucking Sidewinder with what? Like 10 units of cargo? I mean, what?
So you're sitting there with your friend, and you both bought the game, and you want to play together, and you see, oh great, we can do missions together, we can share a mission. And then you see, okay, every time we get a source and return mission to share, we need to collect 1,000 tons or 2,000 tons, and we are both flying, let's say they played for a bit, we're flying haulers, or we're flying cobras, maybe even pythons, and even then, that's going to be a massive undertaking to do. And I don't understand why they had to split it up like that. Just why not just keep it as saying they could just start with the easy ones like trade and mining and those that's fairly easy to do, and then say, okay, we're now enabling wing sharing on these type of missions, and we then adjusted the parameters based on how much you get accordingly. It would have been a lot cleaner, I think.
I think sometimes it comes back down to the point that they really do seem to overthink things, and a good example of that is crime and punishment changes.
Yeah.
Oh God!
It seems to be overanalyzed and overthought, and a massive big solution to something that could perhaps be done with a much smaller solution.
I'm not gonna poke the crime and punishment. Basically, what I'm gonna say real quick about the whole missions and stuff like that. I mean, fine. There would be nice to have missions that are just required to be completed solo. Fine, that would be kind of nice, right? But the reason why missions are not offered oftentimes, you know, as wing missions and so on and so forth, mission board is borked. It's such a fucking past the code. It's just a tremendous task to even take on. Adding new stuff on it, or what, spaghetti code. That's what was the typical term, right?
Mickey Mouse code works as well.
Yeah, essentially that's basically what that is, and because mission board is such a massive thing, making changes to it, probably not. No, not gonna happen. At least not that easily or quickly. Soon.
I have to agree. I think the mission board has grown to be such a complicated beast that they just don't want to touch it anymore. Not too much, at least. I think it's just grown out of hand a bit.
Yeah, it might also depend how much of the parts of the other game it's hooked into. It's obviously going to be hooked into the background simulation.
Yeah.
There might be no changing it without messing with everything else. I do wonder sometimes if, obviously they designed Elite right from the start with it. Oh, we've got a load of wreck outside. I've got to mute them.
Okay.
There goes the ice cream machine for Ant. Ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding.
Now we know what he does at the weekends. Yeah, he does that at the weekends. That's his spare job.
Ice cream, you scream, you all scream for ice cream. Yeah!
Okay,
they cut me out. It's actually me driving around in a night van.
I have.
Oh God!
I have.
Creepy Ant just going, "Hello there, boys and gals. What's
an ice cream?"
I have a Naprogen says in my stream chat that there's no scaling on your level, so that you get the same missions whether you're elite or not. I'm pretty sure that's not true. I'm pretty confident.
It's pretty well. It happens from time to time. Well, it's borked. That basically some missions do, some others don't. I think. That's a good question. Actually, we should ask that to Frontier, whether or not your rank does actually take part in any sort of RNG's spawning process, or butt fucking, I don't know which one, but when creating mission board, I do wonder whether or not that's... I should ask that question. Okay, give me a sec. I'm probably gonna go and ask that somewhere. Carry on.
Somewhere.
I did back. That was still back in when Quinn's passenger missions were a thing. I actually tried to collect, like, have different people like tell me how many mission board, how many times they did need to board hop to get a certain number of missions and how much they paid, and like I collected quite a substantial amount of data on it, and it's most importantly what rank they had. And I definitely saw a correlation between the payout and your rank. So I'm not sure if it's how big of a factor it is, but it's definitely a factor.
Yamiks is.
Yeah,
I'm
you're still there?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I'm here. I'm not dead yet. At least I think. Maybe. So yeah. What was the question?
We were just still discussing whether rank has something to rank is affecting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting on that, probably because rank did have more of an impact on the type of missions you could accept right in the early days, didn't it? Yeah. I'm not sure if you had been playing the Yamiks, but basically you couldn't accept certain missions unless you had a certain elite rank.
Back in the day,
rather than now, it's just.
I started playing the game. Let's see. It was just as the game launched, well, a month or two after its release, in any case. And I think I saw something like that. Yeah, you weren't able to pick up mission because you just simply didn't have rank. At least, maybe my memory is serving me wrong there. But
it was around about 2015, I think they actually changed that. So just before Horizons, I'm sure.
I see. Yeah, that was the silent period when I wasn't really playing it. So, yeah.
It may have been slightly after. To be honest, I can't exactly remember. It was a while ago, though. But yeah, either way, missions used to be tied to rank a lot more than they are now. Then again, maybe it's all still tied to rank. It obviously is, isn't it? Because the higher your rank, no, that's it. Faction reputation, isn't it? I'm getting.
Okay. Reputation definitely.
Too many things tied into.
I think there's no discussion that faction reputation has an impact. But I think the way it works is that obviously every mission has a rank within the certain category that they are in. And if you are low rank, you're very unlikely to get offered the elite missions. Whereas if you are elite, you will see those elite missions a lot more often. So that's how the rank ties in, that you will more often be paid or be offered the high-paying missions. At least it seems like that.
Okay.
That's a good rock.
You're mining? Oh my god, he's
yeah, I'm mining.
Holy fuck. Well,
doing a few changes
I guess.
Doing a few changes to the gold digger.
Oh boy. Well, right. Let's see. Anything else about missions? Okay. Oh, actually, there's a good question that we kind of didn't go over. Let's turn a little on the bright side. So, what do you guys think are missions that would sort of be good for, let's say, new players to do? Let's go. Let's be positive a little bit here, because I'm definitely the voice of positivity here. Yeah.
Data delivery missions, obviously.
Data deliveries. Okay.
Because they don't require anything other than a ship that can go from one station to the other, and they will actually often go to a station with only a medium landing pad. So.
I'd possibly say that and build up to passenger missions with a small ship.
Yeah, exactly. And start out, get a Type 7 or something like that.
Oh, what about you, Yamiks?
Let's see. Good missions for someone that starts out.
Mining missions.
No.
Mining.
No. What's wrong with you?
Long distance sightseeing.
Passenger missions. Let's see. Right. So cargo transportation missions are kind of iffy. Depends where you are, really. Massacre missions, absolutely not. Mining missions, fuck no. I mean, data delivery missions are basically made for one and one reason alone in this game, really. It feels like it, at least. And that's just ranking up your character. That's it. Just getting reputation for your, well, super factions. That's it.
Yeah.
At least I don't see them as anything more than that. Assassination missions, nope, they're way too hard in the fucking Sidewinder. I've tried multiple times, so there's that. Sourcing missions, no, I mean, yeah, I guess transportation missions, like, you know, deliver X amount of cargo or source X amount of cargo, those would be probably the easiest ones and really the only ones. Donation missions, yeah, fucking right. Scanning, okay, anything planetary I would avoid, I'd say. So basically, avoid anything planetary, unless for whatever reason you think you can do it or know how to do it. There you go. Anyways, and after that, I'd say also avoid assassination missions, massacre missions, mining missions, because they are basically just a clusterfuck of shit, and salvage missions actually are not that bad, I suppose, but passenger missions, those would be definitely the most lucrative ones and easiest to do. Because again, you don't need a big ship to just do a 2 million mission, right? It's a fucking Sidewinder, literally. Actually, let's see, how many do I see on my end? So I see... okay, this is kind of doable. Okay, so I see a mission in my game for 2 million. 1,000 light years from the, well, from my location to deliver or rather, transport one asshole. No problem. 1,000 light years, I mean, it's probably the easiest thing for you to do. Just don't forget the fucking fuel scoop, and there you go. Off you go. So, passenger missions, basically. If you're starting out, passenger missions. And after that, if you really want to go... Yeah. I mean,
yep.
That's pretty much it. It's not that difficult, I suppose. So
it's actually,
yeah, it should do.
I just noticed there are no exploration missions other than the passenger ones, of course. They are kind of exploration missions, but
well, yeah. But what do you expect from a passenger mission, sort of?
No, but I mean, okay, so I'm not sure if I thought this completely through, but here goes. What if you had a type of mission where, because they would be self-balancing. If you had a type of mission that says go out and scan one high metal content world, one type whatever star, and something else, and then that could of course vary with the types of planets based on how common they were and how many of them you would need based on the level of the mission. And then you come back, you sell that data, or you hand in that data to that station, and you would then get an additional reward for finding those specific types of planets. Now, they would be self-balancing in the way that you, if you took the same mission from the same area over and over again, you would have to expand further and further and further, because you would have already scanned. You have like scanned most of the planets in that area, so you would need to move around, which
move
is
further out. Yep.
Yeah, which is a lot in the spirit of exploration, that you would have to move around. You could not just go back to the same station and pick up missions.
I think it goes back to things not being personalized enough.
Yeah.
The missions don't. It's an awkward, perhaps. There's only so far you can go to an extent with personalizing everything, unless you've got a game that tracks absolutely everything you do, and that's obviously not the sort of game that Frontier either they want or they're able to produce, one way or the other. But the missions need to keep track of certain things that you're doing. I mean, they put a start of that in when they tried the put the initial parts in of the chain missions, although they're kind of funnily related sometimes. I mean, you do these missions, I've sat at the station donating money, for example. You donate a few million, and the next thing you get up, oh, thanks for donating all that money. We've now been able to do this wonderful thing. Can you deliver these 100 tons of bio waste for us?
Basically,
And you
get
think,
fucked.
How does that connect? Yeah.
Yeah. They have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I have noticed that as well. That's.
But the idea is there. It
Yeah.
just needs to be taken further.
Yeah, suddenly you've taken a mining mission, you hand in a lot of materials, and they say, "Oh, thank you for this lovely material. Now we will go and kill this pirate lord for us." Like, wait, what? No.
In the fucking Simon? Oh yeah, sure, I'm gonna go and do it.
I'm in a
Splat.
mining ship. I don't carry guns. What do you expect?
Yep. Let's go to let's say oh, I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. Best Buy. Let's ask those employees to just go for an assassination mission immediately afterwards. You know, after the work. Yep. That makes sense. Yep, let's do that. You've been minimum wage employee. Now you know how to definitely assassinate someone. That's a fantastic logic.
You're good at assassinating.
That's your
asteroids.
personal narrative for today. Come on.
Okay, since
Oh,
we
my.
are on the topic of mission and balancing in general, I thought it could be interesting to take a look at the community goals and the bonus weekend. Hopefully in plural, but do you think? I hope at least when they did that bonus weekend that it was going to be a recurring thing. That's something that's going to happen again, and I hope that this.
I saw that one as a sort of a let's feel for it. Let's see how community responds, and community didn't really respond well for it.
No, I thought they did.
I mean, there were by Steam charts, there were there was some sort of an influx of new players, but not big enough. At least that's how it feels. It wasn't big enough of an influx. Because guess what? Also, the bonuses were kind of shit, so no one really cared about them. But you know, I'm saying that.
Yes, that is true. But I mean, I just would really hope they wouldn't discard it based on their first try. I mean, if there were not enough people, not high enough influx of people playing the game, it might be people who maybe don't play the game that often, but who log in that weekend because they wanted to take part in the bonus weekend. Then maybe maybe the bonuses wasn't big enough. Like, they need a bigger lure to get people.
So
in.
someone made an interesting point here a little while ago, talking about that bonus weekend, that the same thing could have been done for missions.
Yeah.
Give a multiple on the or multiplier rather on the mission, so they have a higher payout for that weekend.
Yeah, well, then you're getting into law justification via Galnet purposes territory that they should use but don't, aren't you?
I would actually love to see a.
I would, yeah.
I would
They
love
could
to
come
see
up with a reason for why a faction's paying twice the amount for whatever reason.
Yeah, and people in the Pilots Federation get the inside intel because it's dodgy inside trading, because it would be, because Galnet would tell us first. And it would be a perfect excuse to have whatever sort of special bonus weekend you want, whether it's missions or special trade routes or special anything, and you could just do it at will, because it could be just a Galnet special for commanders just this weekend. Get people in there, you know, and they're missing out because they could be doing it.
Yep. You know, out in interest, I think all of us agree if we like to make a bit of money in Elite, whether we have got a decent balance or not. It's nice to get more. We often see people out there, I think we've mentioned this before, but I can't remember who was on the stream the last time we talked about it. We often see people out there saying, don't worry about the money comes, just play the game. What do you guys think of that approach to playing the game?
Okay.
I like mining.
Not really.
No.
So,
Sure.
I'll disagree here, but go on, elaborate a bit more.
Yeah, okay. So, as I said on several occasions, I enjoy mining. It's nice, it's relaxing. But if I've only been doing that, if I just said, okay, the way that I'm gonna progress the game, that's through mining alone. End of story. I would by now have made it to an Anaconda if I was lucky, but I don't think it would have made it a lot further than that.
So that's purely down to the fact you don't.
That the mining is just not paying enough outright.
Right. So if the mining paid more, you'd put up with doing mining even if you dislike it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only
Okay,
reason
so
why
like-
I'm not doing mining myself is just the fact that you fiddle fuck so much and you get so little back. Because mining literally is about the fucking profit and nothing else. And so is trading.
Yeah, if mining was really that profitable, then all the NPCs you meet out there would be miners, wouldn't they? All of them. Yeah.
Let's kill all the kids. Yeah, that's a great way to turn this stuff in.
What I think I'm trying to get through here is sure, if you are the type of player who likes, let's say you like shooting NPCs, you like to do combat, that can be fairly profitable. If you like exploration, as we talked about earlier, you do it effectively, that can also be a fairly profitable way to go. And there's also a lot of difference in how much money you need for the different activities. I mean, building a fully kitted combat ship, that's fairly expensive, but you can get quite far with exploration for very little money if you want to. So there's a bit like, and that's of course okay that some activities require more a bigger investment than others, but there are definitely aspects of the game where it's not feasible to just progress through the game with that activity alone.
Yeah. What do you think, Yamiks, of that? Of the gameplay being the prime driver of playing rather than trying to build up your credits?
Well, that's what most good games do, They offer good gameplay, and well, that good gameplay is also extended by its rewards, not only in the fact that you accomplish that gameplay, but also by some sort of other additional monetary or valuable, I don't know, material reward in some way. Let's say armor, tools, things, whatever you may have, right? In Dark Souls, because of course the fucking Dark Souls I'm gonna bring up. Anyways, in Dark Souls again, it's more into the fucking challenge to finish the game rather than acquiring, levels and whatnot else. That comes along with it, sure, and you try to keep your, collected monies before you die or whatnot else, and sure, that comes along, but it's more gratifying for me to play the game because I enjoy just overcoming that obstacle rather than having RNGs spawn another fucking mission that is exactly the same as the previous one, and yeah. The reward also is garbage, basically. So I'm playing a very repetitive, boring, impersonal thing, and why did I do that? Because it pays well? No, it doesn't pay well, so what's the point? Why am I doing it? What am I doing with my fucking life?
You wouldn't agree with the premise that you'll sometimes hear that it's not about the money, at least not about the credits.
Elite's all about the fucking credits.
Yeah,
it literally is about the credits. It's it could be about ships, but it's not, because if you want to get ships, you need the fucking credits, and even more credits to outfit them. Because here's a little interesting thing that newcomers to Elite might not know, but to A grade all the ships, in fact, you're gonna spend about twice as much money just on the parts for the ship. So yeah, and yeah. So again, fine. I do compare the Dark Souls to Elite because Dark Souls doesn't matter what type of game you do take in count there. Just put X game that is interesting to play because it is rewarding. Doesn't matter what type of game it is. So mostly that's why I compare it to Dark Souls, because I enjoy it. But in any case, it's just in the reward that you get. It's part of that reward, as I said, is in just accomplishing the thing because it was either challenging, long, or what else. But how many missions can you complete that are fucking just long? Not that many, right?
Yeah, not without having another motivation for doing it.
And also, there's one interesting thing that you must remember. Grind is not a substitute to challenge. Okay?
Yeah, yep. That's often a mistake I think people make. They sometimes say, well, it takes X amount of time to achieve this. Now less. But the time reduction or the grind reduction doesn't make it easier, it just makes it quicker.
Indeed. A good example, in fact. Assassination missions in Elite Dangerous. In fact, they are very challenging, especially now that devs introduced those engineered instances or unidentified signal sources with higher threat above 5, right? Those basically are for assassination missions oftentimes, but they can be found, I think they can be found in free form. In any case, assassination missions often do spawn in not only a ship with engineered modules, but also a ship with multiple ships in a wing with engineered stuff. And doing it alone, I had trouble doing it. And well, it is hard because, again, yeah, the ships that you're fighting against are just tanky, which is also another way of making, well, it's not really challenging, just because you have to whack the fucker 10 times instead of twice. Yeah. It just makes it longer, that's all it is. But yeah, you can mix the two. You can mix the longevity of the reward with also the challenge, and that makes for, oh, if it's properly balanced, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. But lean too much on one end that is way too challenging, it's gonna be basically just impossible to complete for a lot of people. And if you lean on the other side, which is longevity, well, it's gonna be just long and boring because it's just drawn out and it's not very challenging. So yeah.
Yep.
But wait, what was I talking about?
I think one of the things that makes it so difficult to balance the missions in this game is the fact that they have very little control over the missions, because okay, so the trick is you want the missions to be fairly I mean, say you have a specific type of mission, you want that to be fairly profitable evenly across human space, right? But there will always, of course, there will always be outliers. There will be like that one place where that specific type of mission pays extra well because this and this and that circumstances all just like the planets align in that system. And I think the difficult part is to try and reduce the spread between the low end and the high end, so you don't get those like extreme outliers where if you get to a system where there's only one other system within 100 light years and right type of economy and everything, then you get a high-paying mission or gold rush spot. I think that's what makes it so difficult, and that's just an effect that they want to have the mission board be influenced with the area around it, which I understand why they did it, and it's a great idea. It's just very, very difficult to control once they're done it. And I think that's one of the main issues there is with balancing in the game.
Yeah.
Because if you always balance after those outliers, like the high end, that would mean that across the board in most stations it would just not be very profitable, and you end up in that situation which Elite already has a big problem with. I think is that there's no way for you to know as a new player that, oh, if I want to run passenger missions, I need to go to Robigo because that's really the only place in the galaxy where there are other places. But as an example, that's one of the only places in the galaxy where they actually pay a decent amount.
So again, it comes back to the same problem, really, of the way the game's simulated.
Yeah, at least the way the mission board is simulated.
Yeah. It's over-reliance on RNGesus. It's just, RNGesus does everything. Let's make him do it and just slap him upside the head when he, fucks up.
The thing is, with that though, with the galaxy and the way the size of it is in Elite, the number of factions you've got, what other ways could you do it? Still use RNG, but make it more directed, or a different system altogether?
I mention this before to you, Obsidian, in a private little thing, but I did say that the missions that we got right now are basically side quests. Side quests in a typical game, and what we need is something that, those side quests would be, I don't know, compared to or a contrary to, well, just basically aside from, right? We need a main quest sort of a thing. And what main quests are? well, in my mind, those would be the things that developers create as main sort of storyline or main quests as handcrafted experiences. Be those small, very small missions that ask you to just go to this site and discover this lore, or you need to destroy this I don't know, capital ship in this specific scenario or something like that. And well, yeah, and when you have those main missions, you're gonna of course have the time to play them. Once you're either running out of money to do them, or you just don't have the ship for it, you can turn to those side quests and do them, and they won't feel as boring because, well, you again haven't been doing them that much, or if you have, then you can at least turn to those mainline quests and whatnot else. Again, it's just the separation between the RNGs made and the handcrafted, the blend of the two.
When you put it like that, though, are you really talking about handcrafted quests? I mean, for the mission board could direct you to some mega ships, or it could direct you to some conflict zones.
They can
where
do
some
whatever
capital
you
ships...
want.
Yes, so that wouldn't necessarily have to be handcrafted, would it? Just be more directed. I mean, like I said, I'm not a programmer, so I don't know. But when you say handcrafted or directed,
handcrafted is basically just explicitly done, as a little detail, or rather, specifically crafted in every little detail. Like, you make a mission, like let's say assassination mission. A handcrafted assassination mission would include a specific, unique, sort of perhaps a ship, specific. Not randomly generated ship, a specific set ship, a specific place, a specific, additional helpers and text that is being, sent to you, and fuck, even a cutscene would be nice, right? But But
do you think that could work in a game the size of Elite? I mean, that yes. To me sounds like what you're describing is a bit more like Star Citizen.
Why wouldn't it?
Why wouldn't it? Because where would you put the missions? Would these be missions in one location, or would they be all over the place?
Just like with no, definitely spread them out. Again, World of Warcraft and other MMORPGs have proven that you can have massive fucking places and places to grind all your heart's content, those NPCs and all those things, and side quests even. You have main quests that, are all over the place, spread out properly and guiding you from one place to another, or at least in some sort of succession, giving you, some winks here and there. Of course, I'm not talking about, the player must be the hero of the fucking story. No.
I get where you're coming from.
You can have your cake and eat it. You really can. You can have it both ways.
Again,
I was saying to someone in chat today that in a very real way, if you want an analogy for what the Pilots Federation is in the Elite Galaxy, we're Jedi. We're like the whole Jedi organization. It's a small, elite, literally, highly trained group of secretive operatives who are called in by people who can't or won't handle stuff to do jobs for them. And people go,
basically,
it's the Jedi, it's the Jedi.
You're like the maids now? What?
No, we're the Jedi. We're the Jedi. Which means, we don't have to be like, we don't have to be Obi-Wan Kenobi or Anakin Skywalker. We could be the other Jedi. You don't have to be the hero in a story, but you are a small group of elite people that everybody looks up to and says, oh, thank goodness the Jedi are here. That's what the Pilots Federation is, really, in elite lore. And Frontier are they're losing it, because that is their biggest strength, and they're throwing it away in favor of this impersonal background, whatever. Because if you had the Pilots Federation giving you missions, a special persistent contact from the Pilots Federation saying, hey, look, kid, got a mission for you here, you'd get to know them. It would have that depth. You'd go, oh, Pilots Federation guy giving me a mission. And then when you've got a high enough rank in something, he says, hey, maybe you want to go over to this place because this place is more suited to your rank now. So you could steer people to other places that way. Plus, you could have special situations that incorporate this, their lovely, oh, holy background simulation, where you have, oh, the Empire's important here, oh, the Federation's important here, but the Pilots Federation would like to keep everything at a status quo because that's how they make the most money, you see? So they'd say, oh, the Empire's getting a bit too big for their boots over there, you know, to their own commanders. You go over there and cause some trouble, do this gig. Make sure the Empire doesn't get too
So
big.
you're not talking necessarily specific missions from the Pilots Federation, but something that's a bit more overarching.
The Pilots Federation should be talking to commanders, because we're all commanders. We're supposed to be members of the Pilots Federation. But I was saying to this guy in chat earlier that essentially what's going on, what Frontier have done, is Order 66 in Star Wars. You know, there was the Jedi organization, and they've just eradicated it so that nobody remembers that the Pilots Federation existed. And people join and say, you know, I didn't realize I was a member of the Pilots Federation until you pointed it out. And I said, yeah, that's because they don't bloody tell you. It's like they don't want us to know we're members of the Pilots Federation. The only law you can find is in the beacons that are in Jameson.
Well, we won't take
or in the
job,
game's manual, by the way.
Yeah, and you've got to be elite to get in there, to read the damn things, the tourist beacons in Founders World, and you can't read them until you're elite. I mean, where's the sense in that?
Oh, so this is what I've been doing all this time.
Yeah, exactly. There's no sense. And they're missing a golden opportunity by using the Pilots Federation as that bridge between personal and impersonal. You could pitch it exactly in the middle so that people are a bit heroic, but they're not the hero of a personal story. You're just like a group of heroes because you're the Pilots Federation. It's simple, isn't it? Isn't it easy? Shouldn't it be?
Yep.
No, apparently not.
What kind of missions are you thinking of? What kind of, as an examples, would these be like handcrafted missions like Yamiks suggests, or are you thinking more ones that come up through the...
They're sort of handcrafted because they feel handcrafted, because they're aimed at you specifically, you know? It feels like they are. They're a bit cut and pasty, but they're aimed specifically at you because you've reached X rank or you've, you know, whatever. And they say, hey, Commander. And you go, oh, it's that familiar face that I know from the Pilots Federation because he keeps talking to me and encouraging me and coaching me along. So it would feel like that crafted, even if they're not actually totally crafted. They might be a bit random.
So that's, to me, that's what the problem is. It really is the feeling of, the feeling that
like
just
the lack of feelings.
Nothing
it's the set dressing that matters too, you know. You know,
exactly.
Just like with just like with our bodies, you know. Some of us are sexy, some of us are, well, let's be honest, not really. And well, everything can be sort of fixed either with a furry costume or lingerie. So, you know, set dressing kind of matters there too. And that is that handcrafted attribute. If you get my analogy there.
Yeah.
So, and what basically we're asking right now is for missions, you know, at least not, of course, not the side quest missions that we get constantly in our mission boards, but just specific missions to have some effort put in them, more than just RNGs. That's all we want. We want something that, you know, we can sort of have fun with. For example, why is engineer Celine Jean, or no wait, what is it, Markov Quent? I think it was Markov Quent, so well known for being just basically a fuckhead. Because he asks you to deliver, you know, X amount of whatever commodity there was that is hard to get, right? It already gives him some sort of a, station, position, and character in the game because of just that one little thing. And also the fact that because it's a fixed position for that character, you know, it's also a sort of a quest, and it's more memorable and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then there's the crazy bitch who needs 200 tons of landmines for some reason.
Oh, there's also that, but...
and all the drunks that need several...
Deliver slaves in the name of democracy.
Yes, exactly.
That's the best one. That's the best one.
No, well, so let's put it another way, Yamiks. It's not so much that you want a massive overarching campaign.
No, definitely not. This game's...
You just don't want all these fetch quests. essentially.
No, fetch quests, again, I'm fine with having mission boards as they are right now. What I want on top of that is actual substance that is not, well, something that is the main focus rather than putting the side quest, aka the filling of the fucking Twinkie, the main course.
Yeah,
Or
not necessarily a campaign that you may get
yeah.
in other games.
We need icing, we need the crust, we need all the fucking things on the goddamn abortion pastry. Yeah? Again, great analogies by yours truly, but there you go.
That's what
I mean,
a couple of comments here saying that. Great analogies.
I know, I'm full of them today. So there you go.
I have several people saying in the chat that they want to be a Sith Lord. Back to the Star
Well,
Wars
at least on the bright
Well,
side, no one wants to be a fucking Jar Jar.
Yeah, it's true. Well, as I say, I mean, it's not like literally, Joe, but that's the role that we fulfill in terms of the respect and the power that the Pilots Federation has. Not in actually what we do. We don't sit around waving lightsabers and saying use the Force. Don't do that. But yeah, it's the power behind the throne and the secrecy and the capability, because all commanders are supposed to be more capable.
Now that we are closing in on the topic of players' influence on the game, I don't know if it was just, if I remember this completely wrong, but didn't Frontier at some point say that their vision with the whole Thargoid invasion, or the Thargoids being introduced, was that it was our choice if we wanted to try to attack them or befriend them?
Did, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
They did say that.
Very specifically.
They did say
Didn't
Very
they?
specifically, David Braben said, and I can't remember what video it was in, but he said it more than once, that how the Thargoids will deal with humanity will be based on the first encounter we have with them. So
That's
if we
the
shoot
one.
at them, they'll
That's
be
the
more
one.
aggressive, and if we don't, they'll likely be more peaceful.
Although that seems to have been conveniently swept under the carpet now.
Yeah, okay, so I just need to understand, because as far as I see it, there has been no real opportunity to go and do something with the Thargoids other than shoot them to pieces.
No.
So that means that what they expected was, we're going to add this new gameplay into the game, and if people don't care about it, the Thargoids is not going to jump into not going to be that hostile. But if people actually play and try out the new things that we've added into the game, then they're going to be hostile. I don't know. I could kind of have told them what way that would go.
The funny thing about that particular Thargoid thing is that developers, well, the way you can be friendly with them is to give them, what was it, the meta alloy and some other stuff to pick up.
Occupy the
That's
safe
the
pods.
only way you can make, friends with them or be in a positive interaction with them. And all other actions are negative, or rather, well, actions, because not acting is, again, not really anything. That's neutral. So yeah, devs have made this rather interesting choice with Thargoids. Honestly, I don't blame them. This is their game, and they make the story the way they want, and the characters in their work as they want. But they made it extremely easy to be hostile against them, and extremely hard to be a friend or friends with them.
Or at least try to go for a peaceful resolution.
Yeah, it's essentially developers just nudging us, saying, "But you want to kill them? Come on, you want them? You want? Oh, whoops! You poked them. Oh, well, too bad. Now you're enemies. So fuck
Now
it."
you're space dust.
This is basically they want us to be negative against them, and
Of course they did. Yeah.
honestly, I don't mind it. It's just interesting. It's just interesting.
I don't feel like I've had, as a player, I've had any chance to impact that story act. It was, I feel like a passive bystander, just watching an enemy army roll over human space. You could argue that I could have gone in and repaired stations, but that's not really defending. That's damage control.
They hating.
No, yeah.
rolling at what speed exactly? I mean, that's like amazingly dangerous speed the Thargoids are rolling over us.
And all
They're
Yeah, no,
steamrolling
we
us
could
right
have-
now.
We could have repaired the stations if they hadn't had such insanely high requirements, and I still don't know if that was deliberate on FDev's part, so that it means that they stayed on the map longer and looked like there was more of a threat, or whether it was just an oversight because they expected people really were going to go out there and ship millions of tons of stuff to repair these
In
things.
my opinion, I reckon they expected
Yeah.
players to go and fix them.
Yeah, I think so
I
too.
honestly do. That's what I would
That's
imagine.
that would be my guess, but
But
you know that's crazy. It shows that they've done the nuts and bolts work on what the stations are, because they know on their little bits of paper what it would actually require to build one. But it's not going to happen, because we're like not the only ships in the galaxy. Like I was saying about the Jedi earlier, but we're not the only ships in the gallery when it comes to being freighters and
there should
hauler
be plenty of them
pilots
now. Yeah.
and mechanics. Yeah, you know. You don't call the Pilots Federation in to fix a station.
Having us escort
Yeah.
some ships in, on the other hand.
Yeah, you know,
The
you call the
rest of
SAS in to fix your plumbing. No, you don't, do you?
Perhaps they could have had
But
us.
Turjan,
escorting
don't you
other ships.
understand? We're the only ones that can do it.
Oh, save us, save us. Yeah, right. Well, in that case, I've got to retort to that one as well. You know, I have. The moment these stations caught on fire, Pilots Federation megaships turned up right next to them, didn't they? Those hospital
That
ships
was Pilot Federation,
were
yeah.
Pilots Federation ships. They belong to the Pilots Federation. They're megaships. Why couldn't we deliver tons and tons of cargo to them in the bubble, and then they could have jumped out to the station and fixed it with the stuff that we'd given to the megaship? Isn't that more efficient?
That's
You
too
know,
obvious.
wouldn't that be
Don't
more
do that.
sensible? So yeah, they can't come that one either. That's your answer to that.
I think part of the problem with the when talking about interacting with the Thargoids, though, it's only combat, is again it goes back to the galaxy feeling a bit impersonal. We've got no way to really interact with any of the anything in the game. I
got
mean, in a lot of games,
a gun and
even
a
if,
scanner, and when we first encountered the Thargoids, they disabled everything anyway, so you couldn't interact with them. So yeah.
well,
It
you
does
can't
make
even
it
interact with the
impersonal.
regular NPCs, can you? Really?
True, you can't. I mean, there's a thing. Even in Frontier Elite 2, you could target a ship and ask it one of 3 or 4 blanket questions that didn't actually mean anything, but you'd get a response from them. You know, what are you doing here? Waiting for goods at the right price, which meant they'd been sitting there for 2 days on a pad, and you wanted to park, so you shot them. But you know, that was the thing. You could talk to them and ask them what they were doing or where they're going. And sometimes it was necessary for some of the missions, if you were chasing somebody or whatever, that you were looking for someone specific and you asked a question. But we can't even do that now. You can't target an NPC and ask them anything. They can
Well,
talk to us. Sorry, I thought you were someone else. We can't talk to them.
Sometimes it's just the illusion, isn't it, that the galaxy is living and breathing. There was someone left to
Just
comment on a recent.
spawn randoms of what was the wedding barges? Yes, just tons of them. That's all you need to do. Galaxy is populated. What are you complaining about, players?
Yeah.
Why are you complaining? Seriously,
Well,
the galaxy is
comment-
full of things.
Had a comment on the recent video. Someone said, just a nice, simple little touch. When you dock at a station, they don't address you by your rank. So you dock at a Federation station and you're Admiral. They don't say "Welcome, Admiral" or anything like that.
That would be kind of nice touch.
Something like that could
That
make
would-
a.
I would like
it's
that.
just something small, but it makes it.
But then again, it's the unfortunate reality is that it's a little bit of set dressing, and well, yeah, it goes a long way to just put in these little things. It takes a lot of time to put them all in. So yeah, it's. I'd love to see that, but honestly, I'd love to see more quality of life improvements instead of that. So yeah, that's basically just me here. So
No,
yeah.
I agree with you on that. But I'm just thinking in terms of things that are simple and easy to put in. You know, the station already addresses you by your ID as you come in. It's a small change, but one that.
Well, technically, yeah, that one's kind of easy to make, but I don't know. Again, the fact that they put in the whole first 3-letter naming was honestly kind of a surprise. Well,
Well, originally the
nice that they
station
put
didn't
it in.
talk to you, did they? On the comms channel, didn't?
hmm.
Well, you know, when you come to, there was no. What are we talking about? Traffic controllers.
Ah, yes.
As you come into the station didn't actually have any. It wasn't voiced, was it?
Back in the day, no. Back in the day, I still think. Let's see. I remember. Ah, yes, right. I remembered. I stopped playing the game and then came back and was kind of surprised to hear that bigger stations, not the small outposts, didn't had the robotic voice, or no, your internal ship voice, right, announcing these things. I was surprised to hear, that robotic voice is here, or the big station actually has a different voice actor for it, and that was a nice touch. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, surprised that. Oh, I guess I wasn't too surprised to see that, because at that time they tried to flesh it out a little bit more, so that kind of made sense. Oh well. Oh yeah.
So any other?
There goes more.
There we go again. Yeah. Any other topics?
Right.
I think we've probably done that one, haven't we? Really.
I mean, we can keep on beating that horse and all that stuff if we really want to. But let's see.
Well, we talked about quality of life changes. What sort of quality of life changes would?
Oh God, where to start with that?
Go on, there must be some.
You know what? I've talked about this plenty of times. I want to know what you guys want to see as a quality of life. So go. Astro, let's go with you. What do you want to see as the quality of life improvement then, if no one wants to speak up as first?
Yeah, but I'm just where to start?
First thing comes to your mind. Go.
I think the station UI could really use a overhaul. It's a little. It seems like it's a little too much of a patchwork at the moment. Where they had, they already had an UI, then said, oh, now we need to suddenly add materials trader. They probably fit under contacts, I guess. And with the recent additions in outfitting, with now we have shield reinforcements, guardian shield reinforcements, which is obviously listed under hull reinforcements, because where else would you look for it? Took me 15 minutes to find.
Because that makes sense, right?
Because that makes perfect sense.
Sure.
It took me 15 minutes to find them after I unlocked them. I just feel like the UI was good for what it was back when the game was launched, but I feel like that really needs an overhaul, a cleaner UI. I don't know. I just feel like at least that's one thing I would really like to see at least.
Pretty much right. I mean, that's a thing that I've been asking ever since I started seeing those experimental shits appearing. I mean, look at the goddamn storage UI.
Oh yeah.
How are you supposed to find anything you want or need in that fucking mess?
Yeah.
And I mean, fast enough. I'm not talking about finding it in general. You can search for days and find it, fine, but fast enough. We're talking about efficiency here.
Yeah, this does not. I mean, most of the game has realized this, that an easy way to get an overview of a large amount of items is not putting them on a list with pure text. I mean, if they have made that the hangar could just be some kind of grid where you could see these individual icons, so I knew, oh, I need to find a thruster. I know what the thruster icon looks like. I can quickly scan through the list and say, oh, there's a thruster, is that the one? And I would then have the opportunity to group these things together as I saw fit. So if I had a group of modules that know, oh, this is modules that I'm currently working on for this build, I could put those in one corner of my hangar if it was like a physical grid that was laid out, something like that. And station cargo, could we please? Do I have to sell all my limpets every time I go over in my Jumbo Conda? Couldn't I just keep them in my mining ship? Or just store them in the station?
You need to poop it out.
Yes,
just
exactly.
Poop it out. Come on, poop it out.
I mean, come on. That cannot be difficult to keep the cargo in specific ships. And then allow people to transfer between ships if they wanted to. Or maybe even better, if they really don't want to do that, just at least give us station cargo so we can store stuff at a station.
For me, a lot of the I think you're done there, yeah, Astro?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to
sorry.
cut you off otherwise. Yeah, for me, a lot of the quality of life changes will come down to the galaxy map. I think just before we started the chat, I was saying there's a shame there's no easy way to locate a lot of your other ships. You need to be docked up and go through the shipyard, and that's assuming the station's even got a shipyard.
Yeah.
But I'd like to. They kind of started the process with putting the filters on for the material finders and the marketplace finders, but that just went nowhere near far enough. I think the galaxy map could really be the hub of the game. It's a few changes will just allow you to access pretty much all the information you need and locate everything you need.
Yeah, and
it could really be the point to direct you everywhere.
Yeah, it's because right now they feel like the galaxy map is kind of a standalone thing that was like a separate thing from everything else. I mean, you could do everything else where you would have this like semi-transparent menu, and you can still see your ship in the background until you open the galaxy map and you just pulled completely out of your ship and are now floating somewhere in the galaxy. I mean, that they could have done the same thing, and it wouldn't have to be much. I mean, if they really wanted to do it on the cheap, they could just do it with another like small cutscene animation thing, where your radar would suddenly change to an image of the galaxy, and you would then just zoom in on that instead. So then you would have the idea that, oh, it's just my radar that's changed, and I'm not now just sitting in my ship looking down on my galaxy map.
That's a fantastic point, and I've said this myself as well. The immersion breaking aspect of this game is the fact that you need to open, Galaxy Map and Galnet. Galnet especially baffles me because it could be easily be made just like the station UI. Why not do that? I understand that will cost a little bit of performance on top of what we already have with performance and all that stuff, but it's a menu. Why not do it? Because, well, in VR, especially, I played in VR. Scorpius gave me to play a little bit in VR, and fuck me.
Yeah.
Is it okay. Maybe not Galnet is hard to navigate, but the fucking Galaxy Map is. But okay, that's VR. That aside, in general, just stop breaking my immersion. The little, at least the little amount that there's still left of it. I want that Galaxy Map and Galnet as separate, just screens. Why not do that, please? That'd be fantastic. Oh well.
Yeah, just for me, I think nearly every quality of life change I could think of could be done through various interactions with the galaxy map, and they wouldn't necessarily need to be major ones. But again, I guess it comes down to how difficult the galaxy map is to manage or to code.
That's the thing. I mean, people have been saying in more than one chat here, orreries. We want the orbital planetary maps that we had in Elite 2, and they didn't have them in the original one, did they? Because they just had single planets in the first Elite. No, certainly in Elite 2, they had system maps that you could zoom in on. You could see where all the ships were, all the pirates that were going to ambush you when you jumped into a system. You could see where they were and calculate how quickly they'd reach you anyway. But yeah, you had planetary system maps there, round spinny things. Now that's been promised since at least the beta, probably the alpha.
It was one of the first concept arts they showed for the game, wasn't it?
It was absolutely one of the very first ones, exactly. And we're still waiting for it. So I don't think they don't want to deliver it. I think this might be another one of these cases where the coding in the galaxy map is defeating them and they can't actually find a way to efficiently deliver it. It's beginning to feel like that. I mean, it's like 4 years and they still haven't given us an orrery. How hard can it be? Well, apparently it does seem to be quite hard for whatever reason. They should just fess up and say, sorry, can't do it.
It's space magic.
They, really?
It's space magic.
Space magic.
Or crack cocaine. I don't know. Maybe all of it. Just everything.
But that we certainly want that. That is a major quality of life, and you could put all sorts of extra fiddly bits on that if you wanted. Yeah.
In EVE Online, they had from very early on, they realized, I mean, it is basically spreadsheets online, and they realized very early on that there was going to be a ton of third-party tools which is something that is obviously is a lot up in Elite as well. And they just took the consequence and implemented a very basic in-game browser. And
oh, right.
And the trick with it
Yes,
was it didn't run any fancy. It couldn't run like Flash or JavaScript or something like that. It was basically you could put up something. At the beginning, at least, it was pretty much just HTML and CSS if you were lucky, and that was it. But what it could do was it would allow you to pull information directly from the game on those websites. So people were actually making websites that would not make any sense to open out of game. They would pretty much only work in game, where they would suddenly show. They could pull like your commander name and your current location, pretty much what the ED Market Connector does now, and upload that to Inaura. So that whole thing has been worked around now. But if they did the same thing in game, not only would it be a huge help to the console players, because many of the console players I've talked to, they are very frustrated with the fact that they have to, whenever they play the game, have a laptop next to them to have Inaura and EDDB and all that stuff running. But if you could have a browser in game that could allow you to open up, let's say, EDDB and look up a specific system, and then that you could then program the site in such a way that you would be able to hyperlink systems. So you could right click on a system and say set destination, and it will set the destination. Something like that would really benefit Elite as well, and especially I think the console players, if they got the then the problem is how to browse.
Certainly, yeah. Elite benefits tremendously from third-party tools, so extending some more courtesy, or perhaps even, collaborating with them would be a good idea. Especially Coriolis for ship, what outfitting, that would be fantastic, and many others, of course, as you mentioned. Just browser, all that. All would be just wonderful to have, certainly. Yeah, but I highly doubt that will happen. They need to complete another stuff for, I don't know, Jurassic Bork or something. Who knows? I'm just being a pessimist today,
I don't think it's fair to say they are working on the game, but it's not necessarily what everyone wants. Guess we'll have to see
I think we all want them to be working on the game. I don't think there's any Elite players who think Frontier should just stop, at least not the players who are actually playing the game, that it should just stop and let it die. So I don't think any of us want to see that. But I would just, it'd at least be nice if they would dedicate some time to some of the core gameplay. I would love to see a quality of life dedicated patch.
That's what we're supposed to have just had, isn't it?
We did. Was that a quality of life patch?
That's what.
No.
Okay.
That's the first time I'm hearing of it. What?
Revamping, balancing core things. It's quality. Yeah.
No. Okay. I think there's a difference between revisiting core gameplay and quality of life stuff.
Yeah. But that's the funniest thing. I did say this myself multiple times, even the last week on What the Tells. This is the time when they basically have nothing to release for Elite Dangerous. Nothing aside from 2 ships. Everything else was just boring, and even then, one of the ships is just so boring as... It's amazing that people are still remembering its name. In any case, this was perfect time to actually give maybe 2-3 guys the task of balancing weapons, or balancing engineering, or balancing... whatever, just
shields?
Some quality of life stuff. There's plenty of quality of life little details that can be done by just changing a couple of values, not coding things. And they're already missing it, because the next patch probably ain't gonna have any quality of life changes, or, well, maybe it will have 1 or 2 changes just like this one had. Who knows? But this is the perfect time to do that. And nope, we're not using that time to do that. We're just pushing out some content that we scrounged up from, I don't know, last year, because we just need to dedicate our time just to, make Jurassic work. Yep. That's about it. So yeah.
Do we have any? I haven't been looking too much into what's in 3.2.
Right, 3.2. Actually, I can open the thingamajig and take a look at real quick, but I don't think they actually announced anything. The only thing
I don't
that
think
we
there's any information
properly
on that.
know
No.
is that the only thing that we really know is that there will be 2 new ships coming, as hinted by some discoveries in the Frontier store a while back.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the Krait Phantom and Alliance Crusader? Yeah, Crusader, I think it was called. So there you go. That'll be the 2 ships, potential ships that might be introduced in the 3.2. That is the next patch or update, and
I just
they officially put it in. Holy fuck! They put in Alliance Crusader and Phantom now officially because they got leaked. Holy crap!
Have they put it in there now? Have they?
Yes.
It's on the store.
Look at it. Yes. Fuck it. I'll show it on my screen.
What the hell?
Give me a sec. I'll post a link for you, fellas.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'll post that on my.
There you go. Give me a sec. I'll put it on the screen as well. I honestly did not expect to see that.
A bit interesting, isn't it?
So there we go.
Oh, I see. They put it on their roadmap.
Yep. Because it was leaked now. I love it.
Yeah, and this is a pin thread, isn't it?
3.2.
Yep. So there you go.
They even put screenshots from the store.
It's official. It's official.
More information here.
Krait Phantom. Leaked briefly on Frontier Store. It does say not officially confirmed, but this is a pinned thread, isn't it? This is right at the top of the forum.
Still.
Yeah.
It's an official fucking thingamajig. I mean, come on. Oh wait, no, that's not the official. Okay, never mind. That's
no. Okay, that is.
Yeah, it's pinned though.
It's
it is
still
pinned at the top.
So that's done by. Okay.
They will know it's there.
All right. Well, whatever. At this point, it doesn't matter. Those 2 ships are coming, so don't worry. There will be plenty of content for that. But the funny thing
basically,
is,
3.2 is going to be the same as 3.1, I would imagine.
Progressing the narrative. Yay!
That's about it.
A bit more, a few ships and some other bits and pieces.
So, okay, it looks to me like the next 3.2 is basically going to be the same as 3.1. Some minor things and 2 new ships.
That's what I'm imagining. Yeah, it's looking that way. They've said it's a small update. They've said that right since October.
They said it, but use this time properly to at least make yourself look like you're doing something. And quality of life is perfect thing for it. But why are you squandering this time? Why?
I still think they're working on something that they. Well, we know they're working on something they haven't announced, but I just think it's bigger than people are expecting. I mean, if you look at it this way, if you go back to the Horizons patches, Horizons had a few headline features, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it also had a bunch of, well, whether we think they were good features or not, as an update, it had a few headline features, and it also had the big update of planetary landings and getting out your ship with the SRV. So if you look at the Beyond season, it's basically a repeat of the Horizons content minus the big headline features, if that makes sense, yeah? So if you look at Beyond, if you go back to Horizons, you had ship launch fighters and you got passenger missions and you got a bunch of other bits and pieces like that. And with Beyond, you've got, what have we got? Mining being rechanged and exploration being changed and whatever come in chapter 1, a bit of reworking of trading, wasn't it? So these are all, to me, equivalent of the smaller things that come with Horizons. But there was still some bigger things with Horizons that come right at the start.
Sure.
Yeah, and they come right at the start with planetary landings. And I still think that they're going to release something along that lines, but as a separate update outside of Beyond. And basically what I'm saying is that to me, Beyond is the same type of update as what we had with Horizons. It's just better paced with the content coming out quarterly.
Mm.
Yeah, I suppose. But it's clearly a gap year. This is basically just a gap year.
Well, I think that's
So-
because what the bigger thing that's coming this year hasn't been announced. Might be completely wrong, and you're free to
Do you
at the end of the
really
year.
think they're
Yeah,
gonna
you're
pull
free
some-
to
Yeah, I
you're
know.
free to
I
mock me if
know.
I'm wrong at the end of the year.
Do you think they're gonna pull something out of their hat for 3.4? I
I
doubt.
think that
No, they have plenty
no,
of
no.
things
We
to
talked
announce
about it.
already.
we talked
They've
about
paced
lifetime.
it.
We talked about Lifetime Pass last week, and
Oh,
people keep
that's-
bringing up on the
yeah, true.
forums, yeah. And Frontier has said more than once that there is some paid content coming this year. The discussion is what that paid content is going to be. Some people think it might just be cosmetic items or something like that, but that's not what the Lifetime Pass was for. That was for the big updates. So if Frontier is saying something that's fits into the Lifetime Pass is coming this year, the Lifetime Pass was for big updates, and it said it on their store page when you bought it. It was for space legs and atmospheric landings and gas giants and things like that. So if Frontier are going to say Lifetime Pass holders are getting content this year, then technically it's got to be one of the things that they sold the Lifetime Pass for.
Ooh.
Okay.
Logic.
Again, I'm not gonna
That's
speculate. I'm
logic.
just gonna be just.
Yes, exactly.
When they
Turjan,
deliver,
that's
fuck
logic.
it.
It doesn't,
Just-
yeah, it doesn't.
just-
Logic doesn't always apply, does it? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, as always, I'm just a wait and see person. I'm just gonna complain and beat my dead horse in my little corner while people watch for whatever reason. But there you go.
It's
So,
not a bad way to
oh.
do it, Yamiks, because
I
you never know.
suppose, but-
You get to the end of the year and things aren't there. I mean, in 2015, when Horizons come out at the end of 2015, I was fully expecting to see the next type of planets at the end of 2016, a year later. I mean, Horizons come out, the original release rather, of Elite come out in November 2014, didn't it? The first release. A year later, we had Horizons. So I don't think it was unreasonable to expect another big release in December 2016, but that never happened. So yeah,
Nah, I just want the Frontier Expo. Frontier Expo was fun.
yeah. Wait and see. Thing you're saying,
pretty
I don't think it's a bad
much,
thing.
pretty
I don't think that's a bad thing to say.
All things could happen. All sorts of things. All manner of things. Indeed.
Anything's possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't think anyone else has got anything to say by the sounds of it.
No, I think we all been
I
through
think
most
we've
of
pretty
it.
much
And a bit more.
covered everything there, yeah. Yeah.
Business as usual, I guess.
So are we finished there? Has anyone else got any subjects they want to talk about otherwise, or are we all going to head off to our respective streams for a little while, or what's happening?
I can always go on and on, baby. Oh God, I'm full of these things. Never
Yamiks
mind
never
me.
stops.
For this time, I'll be. I'm sort of done.
The
2
wind-up
hours of
guy.
yeah, again, 2 hours of a weekly sort of a stream, I suppose, is a nice little thing for us to collaborate sort of on. So yay.
I'll probably keep my my stream running for 5 or 10 minutes, and after
Well,
that,
we all will do that.
Yeah, well,
stay tuned.
you
stay
all-
tuned,
you all
folks.
can do that.
We're going to be staying around
No.
for.
and I'm gonna have.
Yeah,
plenty
you
of
can
streaming-
stay in the class. I'm not. Class is out for me because I don't stream on my
Right, no.
my crappy rural internet connection. So I'm free. I can go home now. You'll all have to stay in class. Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's wrap it up then. We managed to stay mostly on topic with a few outliers here and there, but I at least hope that the people watching on whatever stream you're watching on found it interesting, and hopefully you agreed with some of it. If you didn't, make sure to let us know. At least just let me know if you don't agree. So
I mean, how could you not agree with me? Seriously, how could you not? Anyways, carry on.
So anyway, yeah, thanks a lot to you guys this week. We have had Yamiks with us, we've had Turjan, and we've had Obsidian, and of course me, downtoearthastronomy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks everyone for coming along. It's good.
And I believe that something similar is going to happen next Friday with whoever can actually be there by then.
Most likely, I'm gonna be around unless I suddenly drop dead or whatnot else. So I'll be around.
Yeah,
You all still have
Lovely.
me.
I probably won't, but oh, that's a signal source. Woohoo! Anyway, I'm gonna jump off Discord.
Yeah, I'm heading back to my own stream. There's a few people thinking it's coming to an end here, but going to be a little while longer, so don't disappear just yet.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
Bye to all the other guys. Yep. See you all.
Yeah, guys too. And everyone
Bye,
else.
guys.
Have a great Friday.
And a good weekend.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, Discord is off. Okay, so there's been a lot of questions during the stream what I've been doing today. It was just I'm just doing a little bit of a follow up on the live stream from Tuesday. Changing a few modules on the gold digger, trying to get that up to par. As you may have seen at the beginning of the stream, I pulled off two of the mining lances, and I tested it out very briefly also within the first hour of the stream, just to see how it worked with two, and it worked okay. Kind of liked it. So then I fitted 2 extra beam lasers, removed the huge beam laser because then I'm going to need a bit more capacitor, changed it out for multi-cannon, so a little bit more firepower on the ship. Changed out the thrusters from a D-rated to an A-rated, and right now I'm just trying to collect some engineering materials. I'm looking for pharmaceutical isolators. I've been very unlucky with it. I should probably just have gone to Isanor and got it from there instead. But I decided to go and hunt signal sources because it didn't require me to pay as much attention as Isanor would. And that's what I've been doing for the last hour or so, just been trying to hunt high-grade emissions, and I've had very little luck with it so far. This system has not really been that good. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing today, doing the live stream. When we do these, when I from time to time actually have the opportunity to join these roundtable talks, I usually just do something in the background that doesn't require me to pay too much attention to the game. Yeah. What else did I change in the ship? Oh yeah, I removed my class 8 shield booster, also a shield generator, class 8 prismatic. Downgraded to a class 6. That thing will need to be engineered, of course. To then use that extra class 8 slot for more cargo. Then I could free up the 2 class 6 slots, where one of them was used for, of course, the shield generator, and the other one was used for right now it's a Guardian FSD booster to get a little bit more range out of the ship. This is, of course, not the ship, but I'm not settled on that. I'm not settled on that FSD booster. That's going to stay in there. You could go with an extra collector if you want to go a little bit faster, but I don't think it's going to benefit you that much in the belts. So that's why I'm probably going to stay with the FSD booster, because it's going to make it easier. Since you don't have a fuel scoop on the ship, you really do want that extra range, so you can oh, there's a signal source there. That extra range, so you can easily get to wherever you need to sell your materials in case you don't actually need to sell it in the station you're mining at, which is very likely. But basically, it's just fine-tuning the gold digger right now, making the last changes to it, just to see what we can get out of this thing. And I need to do something else for pharmaceutical isolators, but I'm probably not gonna keep the stream here going for too long. I would really like to find one more one high-grade mission and hopefully get some pharmaceutical isolators. But in what time is it now? What time is it in game? It's 19. So that means in 14 hours from now. So you can do that whatever your local time is. In 14 hours from now, I'm going to start my 24-hour live stream, where I'm going to play on my other character. We're going to reset that back to scratch, and me and another commander, Commander Cactus Juggler, we are going to be flying together on new commanders, trying to see how far we can get in 24 hours. So that's hopefully going to be interesting, and I really hope you guys will join me for that stream. Of course, starting there in tomorrow, 14 hours from now. Lots of distress calls. My God. I need to move further out, I think. And there's a ton of giveaways. I have links where you can sign up for the giveaways in the description below, both on Twitch and on YouTube. Could I make a video on getting to Beagle Point? That's a bit of a, I mean, plot your route, begin to fly, don't go through the center, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, I have a little bit of recording I hopefully want to do today as well, so that I have videos for next week prepared. So I think I'm gonna call it for now, at least. Let's actually move over to the end scene here. It is a problem. The reason why I never normally stream at this time slot is because right behind the camera there's a huge window, and I have to get my I have like curtains that block out the sun, so I don't get any sunlight in and messes up the green screen and everything. But yeah, anyways, that means this room gets extremely hot at this time of day, and it's gonna be interesting tomorrow when I'm gonna go through those 3 hours where the sun is bursting in through the windows, heating up the room. So I'm gonna call it for now. I'm gonna get a little bit of fresh air in here, then I'm gonna do my recordings, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. So so you get a chance to get some giveaways and help me celebrate the 20,000 subscriber milestone that the channel has recently passed. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you found this video or this live stream interesting, and at least it was good to be back and do one of those sit on ice packs. It was good to be back and join those roundtables. I have a hard time joining them normally because it's normally a really bad time spot for me. But I managed to clear some room this weekend, and of course did manage to join this week. So, Rob Powell, thanks a lot for the subscription on YouTube. So I'm gonna call it for today. Again, yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.